Today, so many industries have folded up due to the poor power supply. Many have even left the country for neighboring countries where considerable power supply is available. The President directs that the Infrastructure Development Fund be fast-tracked to unlock resources so that infrastructural deficiencies can be addressed, while calling for more fiscal incentives for small and medium enterprises capable of manufacturing quality products good enough for export.
Manufacturing. It grieves me that so many manufacturing industries in the country today are groaning and frustrated because of lack of foreign exchange to import raw materials and spare parts. Painful though this is, I believe it is a temporary phase which we shall try to overcome, but there are deeper, more structural problems bedeviling local industries, which this retreat should identify short and long-term answers. Chief among these problems are inadequate infrastructure, power, roads, security, leading to increase in costs, making made in Nigeria goods pricier than imports. High cost of borrowing money. Manufacturer Association of Nigeria has been hammering on the fact that high lending rates makes manufacturing unviable and unprofitable. Lack of long-term funding. The Nigerian capital market has not completely recovered from the 2008 worldwide crisis. Banks' funding sources are short-term in nature due to sources of the liabilities. Underdeveloped science and technology research. As with agriculture, Nigeria's industries are in the main outmoded and industrial practices far behind those in advanced countries. Unions. We need to protect our workers from exploitation, but unions must cooperate with entrepreneurs to substantially improve productivity and quality of products if we are to move forward. And lastly, smuggling. Need I say more? Central Bank of Nigeria should create more incentives and ease credit terms for lending to manufacturers. A fresh campaign to patronize made in Nigerian goods should be launched. Example, all uniforms in government-sponsored institutions should be sourced from local factories.
Currently, some estimates put Nigeria's housing deficit at about 16 million units. Concerns have been more on severe shortage of houses, high rents, unaffordable prices for prospective buyers, especially middle and low-income earners. During the APC campaigns that eventually gave it victory, the party had promised to build 1 million housing units a year. But according to the president, that promise has turned out to be a very tall order.
In our successful campaign to win the general election last year, our party, the All Progressive Congress, promised to build 1 million housing units a year. This will turn out to be a very tall order unless, one, the federal government builds 250,000 units, the 22 APC states together manage another 250,000 units. We invite foreign investors together with locally domiciled big construction companies to enter into commercial housing building to pick up the rest. In addition, red tape, corruption, and plain public service inefficiency lead to long delays in obtaining ownership of title documents. Again, there are no long-term funding sources for mortgage purposes. These hurdles are by no means easy to scale. but we must find solutions to the housing deficit. This retreat might start by looking at the laws. The relevant laws should be reviewed to make the process of acquiring statutory right of occupancy shorter, less cumbersome, and less costly. Court procedures for mortgages cases should make enforcement more efficient. Ministries of Works and Housing should undertake their computerization, should upgrade their computerization of their registration system for greater efficiency. Mortgage institutions achieving affordable housing for all Nigerians will require the development of strong and enduring mortgage institutions with transparent processes and procedures. Mortgage refinancing company, this institution, when fully operational, should ensure adequate support for mortgage financing.
Healthcare is the last of the 4 areas the president chooses to lay emphasis on. He minces no words in stating that the Medicare system in Nigeria needs total overhaul, citing inadequate equipment, poorly trained nursing staff, overcrowding, dirty hospital sites as some of the unfortunate shortcomings in the healthcare sector. President Buhari says sound health system is part of the prerequisites for economic development, noting that Nigerians travel abroad, spending an estimated $1 billion annually to get medical treatment. He suggests more funding for aging health centers to improve service delivery.
In attacking the challenges of this sector, we must start with 1, more funding for health centers to improve service delivery. World Bank and World Health Organization could be persuaded to increase their assistance. Strengthening public health propaganda and primary prevention, environmental sanitation, stop smoking, better dieting and exercise, and secondary prevention, screening, and early diagnosis of diseases. NAFDAC to intensify efforts on reducing or stopping circulation of fake drugs in Nigeria. Ministry of Health should work closely with the Nigerian Medical Association to ensure that unqualified people are not allowed to practice. It is also the government's expectations that this retreat will highlight the perspective, roles, and responsibilities of each tier of government in adopting and implementing agreed policy initiatives.
It may not be enough for the government to state its policies alone, as that is becoming a tradition in the country. That's according to Mr. Nat Appier, an engineering project consultant. Mr. Appier agrees that the health sector needs a total overhaul, but he wants the government to honor previously signed agreements to stop incessant strikes by unions in the country.
Government is not funding the health sector in terms of the welfare and the remuneration of the medical staff adequately. And that is the challenge. That's why they keep going in on strike. They are always on strike. They come out from one strike asking for one allowance after another. They proceed again on another strike owing to government's inability to honor the previously signed agreements. And so I think government should really come up with a workable and implementable blueprint that will address the core issues in the health sector. Now, firstly, government needs to carry out a state of health audit of the health facilities in this country to be able to establish adequately and in a well-informed manner what the core issues are with our health delivery system. Then we need to look at primary health care, because most of our people live in the rural areas. If we are able to address the challenges of primary health care service delivery, it takes away pressure from the teaching hospitals, takes away pressure from the general hospitals. So what the general hospitals and teaching hospitals will be dealing with will essentially be referral cases, which is supposed to be the standard.
Delving into the manufacturing sector, one of the outlined talk points of the president, Mr. Pierre says there's no way the sector can be isolated from the demands of power if it must succeed according to the government's plans. He wants the president to take another look at those making up his cabinet and do some restructuring immediately.
Power remains the key driver of manufacturing and industrial growth. Where a country is only able to make available 4 hours, 3 hours, or 8 hours, as the case may be, of electricity, it cannot begin to talk about industrialization. Most of these instances you cited, like the Kaduna textiles, the Chalawa industrial layout, and several other industries at Ikeja and Agbara, they are all faced with the challenges of power generation. There is not a single company, multinational or local company, that has grown that is not self-reliant on power generation. Now, for upstarts and people who are just about to start their businesses, that becomes a huge challenge. And here is why. There has been a consistent outage of petrol and AGO. So even where you have your power plants to generate your local power, you will not be able to access AGO to power your diesel generator. You will not be able to access petrol to power your petrol generator. So these things are interlinked. I'll give you an example. Papalanto, sited in Ogun State, hundreds of kilometers away from the gas supply source. To this day as we speak, there is no gas line connecting Papalanto. This plant was completed about 4 or 5 years ago or 6 years ago. It is still not able to achieve 60% capacity utilization. This is because we're supplying gas by road to these plants. Now, this cannot be sustained because of the bad state of our roads. Secondly, the transmission infrastructure has not been upgraded. There was an attempt to upgrade the transmission infrastructure, but midway, we're only able to isolate certain areas and upgrade these transmission infrastructures. So even if we're able to generate 10,000, which, like I said earlier on, is going to be very difficult to achieve in the next 3 years, we will not be able to evacuate it. Secondly, Shiroro, Kainji, these hydro plants, they are over 30 years. Every piece of equipment has a life cycle. What we need to do is to replace these plants, upgrade them with new modern plants. There is a gap in the supply of power. And so the manufacturing sector is groaning under that yoke. And then we now are faced again with the challenge of sourcing for foreign currency exchange to import essential and critically needed spare parts and raw materials that we are at the moment not producing. So it becomes very difficult to say that we will be able to achieve local manufacturing set target objectives in the next 2 years. If we are able to address the power challenge, then one can begin to say, okay, there exists a possibility, a window of opportunity for us to be able to up our manufacturing and production capacity.
Though the president didn't touch on other ailing sectors of the economy, which include education, transportation, aviation, science and technology, amongst others, the retreat is aimed at dissecting all the issues affecting every sector, come up with practical, viable solutions and recommendations to chart a new course for the nation.